Honey, you've got to take that video down that you just posted. You look like Mr. Beetroot Head. Hi, I'm Dave Crispin. And that was my wife last week. I was in the shower at the time and she came in and she said, "You've got to take that video down." And I said, "Why?" She said, "Your face is all pink." Like anything, you have to get used to lighting, you have to get used to various things when you're trying new things out. Now 10 years ago, I would have run out the shower, probably slipped on the tiles, twisted my ankle, or done something else, some other sort of damage to myself in my attempt to take the video down so I didn't look ridiculous or I didn't look stupid. So I said to her, "Is the content okay?" And she said, "Yeah, the content's fine. It's just you look all like pink." I struggled as a child with self-confidence issues. I had a very low opinion of myself. And that led to me trying to be perfect in everything that I did so that I wasn't ridiculed. I wasn't made to look silly. Now, that manifested in various ways as I grew older, because I recognised that the anxiety around me trying something new, or the anxiety about doing something different, not getting it perfect, I wasn't able to deal with the criticism or the ridicule. So for me, to get everything right, to get everything perfect in whatever I did, it held me back, it stopped me growing. And I hear this time and time again with guys that I work with. Because the problem with perfectionism is not only do you set unrealistic expectations for yourself, you set those for the people around you, your family, your wife, your partner. And they can't live up to those expectations. Because you set such a high bar for yourself, you feel if they don't live up to that, then they're not worthy, or they're not as good as you, and they feel that. And sometimes, when that's the case, they don't attempt things, they don't try to change, or they don't try to do new things, because they know they're going to fail and you're going to look down on them. And I hear that time and time again. Just recently, I started working with a guy that was an ex-Olympian. He had two young lads, two young teenage boys. And these two boys were at the head of their game in their chosen sport. But he was having trouble with his relationship. He loved his wife. But what he couldn't see was that he was trying to live out what he couldn't do now through his boys. His father, by his own admission, had put him through hell because he was such a strong, strict disciplinarian. But here he was doing exactly the same thing with his two young boys. So we talked about how he might loosen up on them. And it was very difficult to get him to see that by easing back and giving them more freedom, that they may be able to enjoy what they're doing and so perform better. Because when you live under that strict regime, that you always feel that someone's watching you or you're never good enough. And that's how perfectionism does play out. Perfectionism, control, that you set such high standards for yourself that those around you, you set those same sort of standards, and if they don't meet those or don't live up to those, you can look down on them. And that's what was happening in his relationship. It's very easy to get into that. There was another client that I was working with, and he'd actually just broken up with his wife, and the same thing was playing out. And in his world, things were either black or white. There was no grey area in between. Things were either perfect or they weren't. He excelled at everything that he did. And excellence is great, to do your best and try and excel or succeed. That's what it's about. You do the best. But what happened in his relationship was he tried to be controlling. He tried to tell his partner what she had to do, the standards that she had to meet. And he started telling her what paper to read, what perfume to wear. And that's not what a relationship should be about. They should have the freedom to choose. And that wasn't happening in his relationship. And even though she'd walked out, and we talked about how strict he was on himself, that he didn't eat. After she left, he didn't eat for 3 days. He entered into a marathon, because he was an athlete. He entered into this marathon. And out of a field of 350, he came second. Now you or I would probably be ecstatic. You jump up with joy to come second out of a field of 350. Especially after you hadn't eaten for 3 days. But no, not him. He went into the lowest of lows. I got the phone call when he was in the depths of despair. I'm useless. I'm hopeless. I can't even win a race anymore. My partner's left me. That's how much this can take control and skew your sense of reality. Striving for perfection is basically turning your back on reality. Because if you're always striving for perfection, there'll be things that you won't even attempt. How do you know that you might enjoy them? You might be good at them. If we don't make mistakes, we don't grow. We don't become wiser. We don't become more knowledgeable. And that affects those around us as well, because they're often frightened to try things in case you look down on them and they get derided, they get ridiculed or criticised. And that does happen. So it is okay to be imperfect. It is okay to be flawed. By our nature, that's who we are. We're not Ken and Barbie. Let me think about it. If we look at Ken and Barbie and we aspire to be like Ken and Barbie, they're just plastic models. They've got no soul, they've got no heart, they've got no meaning. Then what can you do if you realise that perfection is a problem for you? Well, this whole process, what I do here, is for us as guys to develop a stronger relationship with ourselves. When we recognise that things aren't working for us, that maybe we are overcritical, when we do compare or judge not only ourselves but others, you can change. It is possible. The old saying that you can't teach an old dog new tricks, well, you can. So if you recognise that perfectionism is an issue for you, and you catch yourself and you think, I've stepped over the mark here, just say to yourself, here it goes, Perfectionist Pete. Give it a name. Peter Perfect. So if you give it a name, you've recognised it, and then you can stop and you can think about it. Okay, I could have done that better. Maybe I need to step forward and recognise, yep, I made a mistake, I apologise. Or next time, I won't be so harsh or so critical. That's the way forward. Do your best. Do your best with the time that you have, the finances you have. And often, if our model of perfectionism goes over into the workplace, where we work extra hours, we put in a lot more than the others, because we set ourselves up. This is the model that you should adopt. All that does is alienate those around you. The same as if that's happening at home. It doesn't develop a relationship of closeness. So it's not a good model to carry on with. In the workplace, have the courage to delegate. You don't have to have control over others. All that does is it puts people off. They tend to distance from you. Aim to do the best job possible with the resources that you have. Remember, by nature, we are flawed. We can make mistakes. So go for excellence and success by all means. Sometimes say to yourself, good enough is good enough. So see you next time.